And hello, everyone. It's time for Weather University. I'm your host, Storm Tracker 8 meteorologist Matt DiNardo. But no, I'm never solo because I have my friend and colleague Jacqueline Waters with me. Good morning, Jacqueline.
Good morning, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing well. So let's start off to talk about the fact that we're now in March and you're excited about spring. But before we get there, ladies and gentlemen, Jacqueline went fly fishing.
Oh, I was like, where is this going to?
Of course I'm going there. We're going to go a little off the hook here first.
Yeah.
All right, so you took a class this weekend with Simone and some other people, of course. And so tell me about, and I'm going to have you and Simone on Off the Hook coming up in an episode, but just give me your overall insight into what you thought about fly fishing.
Well, one, I loved the class. Simone talked a lot about the physics behind fly fishing, about casting, all the physics with the reel. So that was really exciting. I love being outdoors. I love being in nature. So doing that was amazing. It was very challenging. It's harder than it looks, which I kind of assumed going into it. But I'm hooked now. No pun intended. I really, really enjoyed it.
So what was, and again, you're very new into this. What was the most challenging thing to you in terms of the casting, the speed, the tempo, not rushing it, not trying to put too much power? There's a lot of little things here.
I think because I'm used to surf casting, like off a beach. So you just do the front cast.
Yep.
So I would always take my Jeep, go off-roading, and I would just do front cast. So I'm used to that. So I think my big thing was I'd put too much oomph into it, and use my wrist too much. So Simone, tied my wrist to my, jacket to, try to get me out of those habits.
Right.
But I can't wait to go back out. I'm so excited. I caught a fish. I caught a stick, too. That was not intended. But
nope, you're going to catch sticks and fish,
Yeah.
and it'll happen. Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad that you got out there.
Yeah.
And so now, just so you know, as you have correctly put this together, we are 17 days away from spring. But before we even get to spring, Jacqueline, I'm just going to give you a little help here. The James River now, water temperature is 46 degrees. We get that magical 53 to 55. The shads, now people are catching some shad. You have to go down pretty deep and they're a little sluggish. But we get to 53 to 55. They start popping like crazy. And stripers come in too, which people got in a couple so far. It's fun on the James.
I'm so excited.
We're going to make sure you get out there.
You will not see me out there in those water temperatures, though. I will be.
So when you're
not
standing
waiting.
in the water, and there are some very good places you can stand in the James, it is difficult. You wear waders, and you're dressed very warm underneath it.
Still, I don't know.
It's totally different.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Waders are.
We'll see.
It's kind of like you ski, so you wear snow pants, ski bibs, right? And you're super warm the whole time.
But yeah, and I guess when you're doing something you love, you don't think about it.
Yeah.
That is true.
So blocked out.
Yeah.
After 6 hours, 7 hours, it's all good.
If I'm filing taxes in the cold water, I'm gonna feel it.
Finally, yeah, you will. All right, so 17 days away from spring, and we want to talk a little bit here about the spring norms, if you will. We're in March.
And we're in meteorological spring.
Right, which began March 1st, just was Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was very excited.
And we ended up, by the way, people want to know, the 8th wettest February on record. We didn't go anywhere. Those showers on Thursday.
Trace amounts.
Yeah, it was nothing.
Yeah.
So, all right, but here's the good news. So roughly 60 for a high as we begin March, or for an average temperature, I should say. April's average high is 70. May, almost 78. This is some good stuff.
It is some good stuff. Not your what do you like best, 80s or 90s?
I
always
like
forget.
hundreds.
Oh, okay, I was wrong.
90s and hundreds are fine.
Okay. Well, I like 70s. So
April, May are going to be
Yes.
really good for you. Even June is pretty
I don't
nice.
like pollen, though.
Well, and that's a problem. Yeah,
Yes.
we do have pollen. So I like to call it 3 different seasons here in Virginia for pollen. So we are now in tree pollen. We'll talk about that. And we have many different times over the next 6 to 8 weeks, even more, that the trees begin to bloom. They bloom in succession, so to speak. So as one tree ends, another one's beginning. And it's now until mid-May. And most people in central Virginia, this is the time of period that they're really allergic to. This is the stuff that covers your car, makes it green, your sidewalks. When it rains, you have yellow rivers flowing down the street. It's crazy.
I think I'm allergic to all of it, honestly. Like
Really?
last year, I mean, remember how I was just sneezing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still sneezing even, well, I guess we're in pollen season.
Yeah.
I sneeze all year long. I don't know.
That's all
I'm
right.
allergic to everything, I guess.
All right. Well, probably me too.
Yeah,
Probably allergic to me.
that doesn't help.
As we get into early May, grass pollen begins to pop, and give or take, a week or two here on all of this. Then tree pollen kind of winds down. Then we have grass pollen for a while, and grass pollen doesn't really cover things, but when you see the grasses have the seedlings on them, that's your grass pollen, and that'll last for a while. And a lot of people who mow, they're wearing the masks because when you cut it, it opens it up, and yeah, it could be a disaster. Right?
What are you sensitive to? Grass, right?
Tree.
Tree.
Yeah, particularly any sort of pine,
Okay.
and which are always early season. I will be a disaster. So I've already got my meds. Thanks to my pulmonologist, we're good this year.
I kind of want to get. I've always wanted to get an allergy test.
I had it done.
I should get one.
It's if you really suffer, and we couldn't figure out what I suffered from. That's why I had to get it done. But always, come March, April. I mean, I just couldn't stop coughing, and and so we did the whole. And it was like, if I walk into a pine forest, it's all over for me. Yeah.
Oh
So,
gosh. Okay.
Anyway.
If Maddie D's ever missing, we're gonna look at a
We're gonna
pine
look
forest.
yeah. All right, so then after grass pollen's done, we have a couple of month break here. During the hottest time of year, June, July, early August, nothing really is breaking out. But then we start to see weed pollen, which is predominantly ragweed, until the first killing frost. And a lot of people are allergic to that. So three
It's a
major
lot,
pollen.
yeah.
This is a lot. There really is a lot. And there's so many different trees. All right, so tree pollen is the number one thing, running moderate today and for the next 4 days, and probably longer than that. We'll show you why in a bit. But it's juniper, it's maple, and ash. Those are your early season trees. I was driving out to Lynchburg this weekend, yesterday, in fact, to see my daughter with the Lynchburg Hornets play softball. And I was noticing lots of trees with little buds on them. And so here we go. We're in that season.
I mean, it's been pretty warm, so
Yeah.
it makes sense.
It does make sense. All right, so something else that happens, and you might have been seeing this, and this gets to be pretty interesting, unfortunately, is wildfire season. And these are scenes, Jacqueline, out of Myrtle Beach and South Carolina areas where this weekend wildfires were, just erupted. They had the same type of weather conditions over us. Dry, low humidity, very windy, if you remember Saturday, and a small ember breaks out, and these fires can spread rapidly across the area. So big time problems here. And Jacqueline, I want to talk about this because we always talk about California.
Yes.
But wildfires can happen here, and they can be equally as bad.
And they could happen anywhere. I mean, obviously, over land, not over like the ocean or anything, but I mean, and they could just spread so quickly when you have all those right ingredients and you have all the right variables, but definitely something we don't want to see. And that's why we have these red flag warnings that we talk about.
Right.
And I was mentioning it all day Saturday on Good Morning Richmond, which we had that red flag warning in effect.
And even think back a couple of years ago, there was those massive wildfires in Canada that was spilling.
That was last year, I think.
Was it last year or the year before?
Or maybe the year before.
But in spilling the smoke all the way down across
Our air
us.
that was 2
air
years
quality
ago.
was god awful.
Yeah. And in New York, remember New York?
It looked like midnight sun. It was so crazy.
Yeah.
So this is a graphic that we're going to show a lot, and I think it's important that we talk about this. I'm going to bring it up full screen. So 3 different things we look at for that red flag warning, and this says red flag warning on it, but there is no red flag today. Temperatures between 50 to about 60, 65. That allows the sun to really bake on our land and to really dry it out. And this time of year, this is why we always say spring rain is important, because we got to keep that topsoil and all the debris that's fallen from our recent storms wet.
Yes.
And if we don't, it dries out in those temperatures really quickly. And humidity values, like at 20, 25%, is not good.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, luckily we have some rain moving in Wednesday, but I mean, we've been dry. I was looking at February's rain. I mean, February was wet. We know 8th wettest February on record, but other than that one Thursday where we got trace amounts, it was like 12 days we had no rain at all.
Right.
So, I mean, we want rain in spring. they also bring Mayflowers. April rain bring Mayflowers.
You know what Mayflowers brings, don't you?
Pilgrims?
Pilgrims.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. Just want to make sure that we're all on board with the dad jokes today.
Yeah.
The
You did
reason
that
why
one.
today is not a red flag warning, it's the winds.
Mm-hmm.
The winds are very light today. If the winds were more 10 to 15, 10 to 20, 15 to 25, today would be a red flag day.
Yeah.
So winds help to really spread the fires.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that's not what we want, right?
No.
So, by any means. All right, Jacqueline, you pulled this graphic up here.
Yeah.
And explain this a little bit.
So it kind of goes with what we just showed, factors for wildfire growth. Obviously, we don't have the winds today, and that really is just the ingredient that spreads them easily. So we still have all the ingredients to start a wildfire. I mean, anything could start a wildfire. You could have a cigarette that drops on the ground. You could have heavy machinery, really lightning. Obviously, we don't have any lightning around.
Right.
But a lot of different things actually start a wildfire. And these things really just grow those wildfires more quickly. So if you have a dry forest, overgrown forest, that's why you have those prescribed burns in areas that commonly get wildfires. If you have dry conditions, obviously we've been dry, so that's something we have, and then extreme heat. But I mean, today with temperatures going close to 50, we have those ingredients.
We do, yeah. When we say extreme heat, it doesn't have to be 100 plus, right? You know, a lot of times, you know, we think of the California fires, they come with those Santa Ana winds, and that warms them up, but it's really the winds that, you know, drying things out, right? So that's a pretty big issue there. But it's just interesting. You know, you mentioned something there, the controlled burns. Those are really important to kind of contain areas, as you said, that have been stricken before, or way too much dry brush is there. So they'll dig the control lines and burn the inside of that, and yeah.
There's I wish I knew the movie off the top of my head. There was a movie I watched recently that was all about wildfires, and they talked a lot about like prescribed burns. And it was actually really, and the science from what I know about wildfires was all accurate, and it was really interesting seeing them fight the wildfires. Right. It's a really good movie. I'll have to find out what it was.
Yeah, I would be curious to know, but yeah, I mean, and boy, that's a lot of hard work, because it's not just laying water, because you're miles in, trucks may not be able, and they're digging these 12-yard plus trenches, so the lines, the fire lines, the fire can't go over that. All right, so a couple of things here for wildfire safety. We're in what we call a burn ban, and that goes from pretty much sunup to 4 p.m. But in a day like today, where the dryness, the air humidity is super low, even into the evening, we really ask people not to burn in a day like today. But there's some other things to talk about here, Jack.
And that goes until, I believe, April 30th, right?
April 30th.
Yeah. So, especially during wildfire season, never leave campfires unattended. You should, even if we're not in wildfire season, you should never leave a campfire unattended, because most wildfires are actually caused by human error. So that's something that we could do to prevent wildfires or mitigate wildfires. Adhere to the burn bans, like what we have in effect right now through April 30th, and all those warnings. So if you hear us talking about red flag warnings and to refrain from burning, we're not just saying it to say it. We're saying it because all the ingredients are there. Properly discard your cigarettes. Keep vehicles off of dry vegetation. Avoid power tools that could cause sparks. And just make sure you listen to local officials and to your local meteorologists also.
Yeah, for sure. You know, the interesting one there is keep vehicles off dry vegetation. You know, a lot of times, you and I both do traffic, right, and weather, and, you know, a car breaks down on the side of the road, and you pull it into the shoulder, maybe you pull it half onto that dry grass. Well, the engine and the muffler, everything is still hot. And if that touches the grass, I mean, we could, you know, and big time problems there.
Yeah, sure. And that is true. I see that a lot, actually, in traffic, vehicle fires. And also, my friend is a firefighter in Hanover County, and they had a bunch of small fires Saturday, too. Right. And a lot of them were started from, I believe, vehicles, he said.
Right. And sometimes, and more times than not, it's people flicking cigarette butts out the window, which you can't do. I mean,
it's just something so easy to not do and to save our environment. Yeah,
for sure. All right, so we talked a little bit about wildfires here. The 8-day forecast. You mentioned rain in the 8-day forecast. What's going on Wednesday, Jack?
So we're going to have rain showers and storms moving through. Yeah. Some of those could be strong, heavy downpours, some gusty winds. It will also be mild, mid to upper 60s. So for those that are wanting maybe a winter storm, there's no winter storm in the forecast.
Yeah, there was a lot of things last week. I heard we're going to go work the storm next week.
I don't know where that
I don't
came
know.
from.
I know where it came from. It came from the social mediaologists. Don't get me started, folks. You know my feelings. You got to focus on the ones that do this day in and day out, not the ones that are looking to make a big splash and scare you half to death. All right, anyway, so the interesting thing about the storms on Wednesday, it looks like, based on what we're looking at now, the showers and storms should come through morning hours to mid-morning, which is not a prime time for really giving us tremendous severe weather. I mean, it happens, but we usually want to get the heating of the day to get things going. So we're going to have some rain, some thunder, maybe 1 or 2 gusty winds. But the problem is coming in also that early. We're in the morning commute.
Yeah,
could have some heavy downpours, which causes havoc on roadways as well.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I mean, at least it will help with. I mean, we've been dry, so it will get us out of those dry conditions. And yeah, I like a good rainy day sometimes.
Yeah, it's always nice for sure. Wednesday, Thursday look good. Friday, Saturday, some more showers. I'm sorry, Thursday, Friday look good. Saturday, some more showers. And then we turn our attention into the 8 to 14 day temperature map here. And we are talking, if this all comes together, some really exceptional heat over the entire eastern 2/3 of the country, and specifically from the Ohio Valley through the mid-Atlantic, way above average. And we're talking, I mean, if you look at the numbers on some of the models, we could be punching 80 a couple of days next week, which would be awesome. But then again, we're going to dry out and we're going to have wildfire season. So,
and also pollen. I was like,
right.
Yeah.
It's great and it's not so great. Right, yeah. And the reason for that on the West Coast is going to be significantly cooler. And as far as rainfall goes, we're kind of on the edge of just about normal, above normal in the Great Lakes, and then way above normal in the West Coast. Again, West Coast dip, East Coast ridge. You know how it goes. But, I mean, I just love the sight of that. Looks good. So this, back to what we started with, Jack, we're talking about warming the James River, shad and striper season going into full effect. We're going to get you out there. We're going to put some shad on your line.
I want to go back out already.
Okay.
So I had a dream about it already.
A dream about it. That's not good. 2 days into throwing a line, and now
that's me though. If I get like hooked on something, I become like fixated on it.
Yeah,
like,
that's good.
I just do it until I master it.
And the nice thing about our schedule is we're done 12:30.
Yeah.
We can get out there. I mean, shad you can fish any time of day. Stripers, you really want to be either first thing in the morning or at dusk, okay? They like low light conditions.
Yeah.
But shad, you could be out there 2 in the afternoon on a sunny day, and if you hit a pod, and there's lots of pods, I mean, it's one after another. So
exciting. Also, time change is next weekend.
Yeah, let's go back to that really quick.
So sunrise will be later, sunset will be later.
Right.
I am not a fan of time change. Are you a fan of time change?
No, but there's other things for Congress to be dealing with
than
worrying about daylight. So everybody's
fair.
like, we need congressional. No, you know what? How about we reform taxes? How about we do a bunch of other things before we worry about whether I'm waking up an hour earlier?
It's confusing for a lot of people.
I don't see that. I see it as an inconvenience.
So when I lived in Hawaii doesn't do time change.
Yeah, right.
I think it's Arizona also.
Does not, right.
It's just, it gets confusing. But yeah, spring forward this weekend. Check your fire detectors and your carbon monoxide detectors also.
Good idea.
Carbon monoxide, is that what it's
Carbon
called?
monoxide, yep.
What was the other, check
Smoke
the batteries?
detectors?
There's something else you're supposed to do.
You want to change the batteries.
And check your fire extinguisher. There's something else usually.
Oh, you always look at the date of the fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
Make sure it's not outdated. Correct. Yeah. And if you don't have smoke detectors, contact your local fire department. They will come and install those for you. So yeah, good stuff. All right, Jack. So you've gone fishing. Pollen is here. Wildfire season. What's your last words of encouragement to the wonderful viewers?
I wonder if this photo. Well, I guess.
Oh, yeah. You want to show that? Here, I'll pull you up full screen.
Yeah, there's me catching my fish.
Here,
everyone.
make it bigger and. Yeah, there we go. Look at that, folks. Look at the fish that she caught. A little panfish on a fly.
But look at my smile also.
And that's the greatest thing.
Yes, I'm so excited. But we'll talk more about the fishing coming up on Off the Hook.
On Off the Hook. We'll do that for sure.
I'm going to be a pro fisherwoman. Is that a real word?
Fisherwoman is a real word, yes. Pro takes a long time. Just going to say that.
You never know.
I've been doing it for 1995 I started. I never considered
That was
myself
the year I was
professional.
born.
Oh, God. Anyway. Any final words, Jack?
Go fish.
Go fish. Off the Hook with Jacqueline Waters. I see it now, everyone. We hope you all have a fantastic day. Enjoy it. And Jacqueline and I will see you next week for Off the Hook with Maddie D and Weather University.